Hello and welcome back everybody to the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast with myself, your host, as always, Alex Connor. And here we talk about everything training, nutrition and lifestyle collectively. And today I'm back with another guest. His name is Steyn. He's a strength, physique and nutrition coach who specialises in improved body composition through effective exercise and nutrition protocols. Denver is also a lifetime drug-free competitive bodybuilder and powerlifter who has competed on an international level and has been featured in multiple health and fitness publications. He's an online-based coach and also provides hands-on technique coaching as well as mentoring to fellow personal trainers. Now, Denver is one of the more well-known coaches here on the Gold Coast and in Australia. He works at a very high standard, he's produced some amazing results, and he always leads by example. So we had a fantastic conversation today, definitely one that was in the pipeline for a while, and we definitely cover a few key topics and shed some light on some common misconceptions, including the recent Game Changers Netflix series, or should I say episode, which has caused a bit of a stir in the industry as of late. So we'll be shedding some light on that one, cutting through the BS and getting hands-on, talking about all things strength and conditioning as always. A side note before we dig in, again, I've mentioned the Academy multiple times now. From this release date, it is live now to you if you want to get in there and start learning the fundamental principles, some of which we talk about on this episode, so you can start educating yourself about training, about nutrition, learning those keystone habits so you can actually start to do this yourself, get your head around it, and then that will give you that freedom and flexibility to stop spinning your wheels and actually achieve your goals. So if you're interested in that, or you want to have a look and find out a little bit more about what I do and what the Academy is about and how it can help you, jump over to the website. That's fearlesstrainingunited.com. And once again, all the links are in the show notes below. However, Christmas is fast approaching. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. So I just wanted to take a quick second to thank you again for your support, all of your listeners. And if you really like it, please go and leave a rating review on iTunes, Spotify, whatever the platform is, because it really helps the channel grow. And I really appreciate that. Help get the word out, spread the good knowledge, and influence other people more positively. However, without further ado, let's get into this week's conversation. Sit back, relax, enjoy, turn your ears on, take something positive away, and enjoy this conversation between myself and Steyn. All right, Denver, welcome to the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast, my friend. Thank you for your time today. How's everything on your end?
Thanks for having me, Alex. Everything is great. Today is a office day, so I'm just sitting all day long for the most part. But for the most part, yeah, everything's great, man. Just got back from Bali for a week, so that was a good holiday. And yeah, been busy.
Good man. Nice and productive, and a bit of rest and rejuvenation too. Well, let's start as we always do. Give us a bit of a background about yourself, Denver, what you do, why you do it. Give a bit of a synopsis for the listeners who perhaps aren't aware of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I do personal training face-to-face. I do online-based coaching or consulting for everyday people and physique athletes as well, so nutrition and training. I also do a little bit of mentoring for personal trainers as well, which is pretty cool, something different. And I guess that's what I do from the work front. And so I'm in the gym a lot, working with people face-to-face. And then I'm mostly on my computer working with clients online overseas, pretty much everywhere. From a background perspective, the last thing that I did competitively was powerlifting. So I like to go between powerlifting and bodybuilding. Played around with some strongman for a while there as well. And yeah, so I guess I've been in the actual industry since 2010, working as a personal trainer. And I started lifting weights about 16 years ago now. So it took my time before I got into the industry from a work front, and really built up my personal knowledge, experience, and then I started guiding others, and obviously got, certified for that. And that's what I do these days. So yeah.
Good man. And can you give us perhaps a bit more of a rundown from when you started in the industry, as in what age you were? You said you started to build up your knowledge base first.
Can you give us a timeline from when you actually started, got qualified, starting on the gym floor, or whatever that journey was for you, to where you are now, obviously doing the more mentorship side of things, spending more time on the online presence, etc.?
Yeah, so I guess I started personal training in 2010, 2011-ish. I was like 24 years, 23, 24 years old, something like that. Just started with like face-to-face training only. Online coaching did not exist at all. Nobody was doing it. Probably about 2 or 3 years later, a good buddy of mine, Lee Norton, started doing online coaching. He was probably one of the first ones that I noticed doing online coaching back then. And it was quite interesting. And then people started asking me, hey, can you work with me on like remotely? And I pretty much thought I couldn't, didn't know how to do that as a face-to-face personal trainer. But, you know, I accepted a few people at a very, very low cost. And I just started to learn the ins and outs of online coaching. So probably about 3 or 4 years into being a personal trainer, I started doing some online-based stuff as well. I did some bodybuilding competitions at the same time, which definitely increased like my awareness, I guess, or my exposure. I was also on the cover of a magazine, fitness magazine, which also helped a lot to elevate my presence. And I would say around 2012, I heavily got into the evidence-based world of training and nutrition, did my ISSN, sports nutrition certification or specialist course exam. And I started to learn a lot more. I did my Australian strength and conditioning course, level 1 certificate as well. And I became a recomp coach, which is something that's quite popular here in Australia. So at that point, I really got a lot more interested in learning more about the science of things. I was doing a lot of things wrong, I would say, in my early stages as a bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder. And I would say like the more I learned, the more I shared. And then the more I shared, the more interest I got and engagement, and the busier I became. And it got to a point where I started to get a lot of personal trainers coming to me for PT sessions, but they actually wanted some business advice and some knowledge on training and nutrition and how I did things. I was definitely an advocate of flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros, for quite a long time early on. And people weren't really, you know, ready for that at that point. So they were actually interested. So, you know, a lot of people came to me for that kind of stuff, not actually the training. So I'm doing personal training sessions, but we're talking about business and nutrition and training and how to get clients and how to stand out and all these things that were not like what the person was paying for at the time. So I started mentoring people instead. You know, a couple of years later, I got a business coach myself, and I started to learn more about business. And I've used the tools that I learned from them to help my clients that I mentor as well. So about 3 years ago, I put together a plan on a PT mentorship program, and I put it down on paper, and I said I was going to do it within, you know, 12 months or whatever it was. And I started filming content for it and stuff, but it kind of just got pushed back because I was so busy with clients, especially when you're well known, I guess. People always are constantly trying to work with you, and then you're too busy. So I had to try to reduce my work amount to try to get that in, and it was just impossible. So I guess I only did it a year ago now, put everything together, and I've had quite a few people jump on board with great success. And basically that's how I've done it. I've pushed it onto an online-based course, so a 12-week mentorship program. That way I don't have to commit too many hours or any hours week to week. It's kind of like, here's your access, watch these videos, and you get more access week to week to week. So that's how the mentorship side things occurred. And then over the years, I've just had phases where online coaching was a bit more exciting to me, gave me more flexibility. I love to travel and move around, so I leaned more towards that. And then I've also had phases where I just felt that was really boring, and sitting in an office all day, every day, can become quite mundane and isolated, you know. So I started doing some more face-to-face work, and I honestly love the face-to-face stuff. At the same time, it's really draining. So to find a happy medium for both, you know, they are both draining. I mean, it's mentally draining to sit in an office all day. So to find a happy medium for both, and to really try to service people face-to-face and online, for me, that's the best approach for right now. And I can't see myself changing that. I really like the dynamic of having some days where I work with people face-to-face and, you know, greatly improve their exercise technique and pretty much improve their confidence overall and change their life immediately, instead of, you know, having to communicate online. So yeah, it's good to do both.
Agreed. I think, like you said, you've got to pick your poison in many ways sometimes, because there are pros and cons to working with, obviously in person, then online, and obviously having the credibility and getting to a place like yourself where you can do that, and you do have the option to, if you did want to, solely work online, work in person, have that balance, and then I guess now having a strategy and a plan where you can become omnipresent, if you like, where people can sign in. You don't have to 100% be there, but the information is of high quality and people are still actually benefiting from it in a positive way. So to segue to my next question, Denver, from, you've got a lot of experience, you're a very credible coach, you're very well known, especially in Australia. And let's talk about then some of the main misconceptions about strength and conditioning training. Perhaps give us your definition of what strength and conditioning is in terms of, I guess, from a scientific standpoint, but then maybe how you would describe it or how you describe it to clients or newer clients, and what you think the biggest, fears and, again, wrongs, misconceptions, the confusion when people come to you and go, hey, like, this is what I want to do. Perhaps could you talk us through some real life examples of that with your clients that you've had over the years?
Yeah, sure. So strength and conditioning to me, I did my strength and conditioning course quite a long time ago, and I was really more interested in the strength side of things more than anything. And I guess strength to me is a key factor to building and maintaining a lean, strong physique, improving your body in so many different ways, your connective tissue and many other things, your bones, everything. So I don't really have a scientific opinion of what strength and conditioning is. For me personally, I love the evidence-based world, but I don't like to be a scientist. I don't like to be that person who's trying to speak to other scientists or other evidence-based people who are trying to be the best at their field or study all the latest articles and try to speak to that audience. I really like to help people who are everyday people and help them to understand what they need to know in a very simple term. At the same time, I don't mind reading the studies and stuff and learning from that 100%, but I don't like to be deep into the science-based world or evidence-based world. I like to take from it what I can, apply it, and then take what I can, apply it, and then also use personal experience at the same time. But for me, strength and conditioning is really, strength is about improving your strength over time, so your maximal load abilities or strength capabilities over time. And then conditioning would be more about improving your performance over time in regards to agility, speed, things like that, working more like sports-based movement rather than, your specific weight training as such. In regards to misconceptions and things of that nature, I would say a lot of the time people are scared to lift weights because they think they're going to get too big. And especially females, they think they're going to just build all this muscle. I actually had a consultation with someone recently, and she said to me that she doesn't like the gym because she gets too big, she gets too muscular, right? And, these days I'm a bit more direct, I guess, with people. So I said to her, I was like, can you just do a front double bicep for me, right now? Just do this for me and flex your bicep. So she did it. And I pretty much just pulled back anything that was loose and soft tissue, as in not muscle. And I was like, all of this is excess body fat. You're not actually building too much muscle. We need to focus on fat loss to get you leaner, to get you more toned. So it's not the fact that weight training is causing you to put on, all this muscle and size. It's that you're actually, probably consuming too many calories, probably not training effectively and efficiently, and need to focus more on fat loss more than you need to think about, oh no, if I, do some bicep curls, my arms are going to be too big. Because that's generally not the case. I've never come across anybody ever in 15 years now or 16 years now where they've actually gotten too muscular and gotten too big, and they need to really try to downsize things. Probably just one or two models that I've worked with, but that's easily changed through the diet for the most part. So that's definitely one of the biggest misconceptions.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm sure you got a few more, but just to jump in, that's a really common, definitely a query I get a lot. I think a lot of coaches, strength and conditioners, professional trainers will probably be able to relate to that one. It's the whole, and again, I'd love to talk a little bit later on more about female specific training and perhaps some things that are a bit more tailored towards them and their mindset. And again, it's that whole, I don't want to get too big. I wish it was that easy, but they're not. And again, oftentimes with females, I think it's that misconception of they don't really understand, lean tissue versus fat mass, the training, the nutrition. And also I find with females, they have very big legs because that's where they generally store body fat. And they think that it's all muscle. And it's like, well, if you actually got quite lean, you'd find out you actually don't have much there at all, but they slap a pair of nice, really tight tights on and it puts everything together. And lo and behold, it looks like they've got these like fairly decent legs. And it's hard to yeah, right. I'm talking about to educate them and say, hey, look, I'm not being mean, but a lot of that is perhaps more body fat than you think. So yeah, it's not like you're going to look at weights and get big. I guess, what are some of the main misconceptions you get from the opposite sex? Like with guys, what is your general consensus? Some things that you've encountered that you generally need to
I would say that people on. A quite common one is that a lot of guys feel like they have to test their 1 rep max in order to become bigger. They want a big chest, so they have to do their 1 rep max with bench press, right? They want big legs, so they have to do 1 rep max of squats. And I've seen so many terrible 1 rep max deadlifts. It's ridiculous. So a lot of the time they are actually chasing size, hypertrophy for the most part, but they somehow feel like doing these 1 rep maxes or 2 rep maxes, their ego goes up and they think that the lean mass is going to follow, but it doesn't. And, so a lack of understanding around training volume and, the principles of training for hypertrophy, which is ultimately most people's goal. A lot of people want to get stronger, but they actually want to get bigger more than they want to get stronger for the most part, like the general population. So that's a big one. Like not everybody, but a lot of people in the gym, they're like, I'm trying to get my 1 rep max up. I want to, and their form's not even that great either. So I think technique is a big one, like being too proud to actually improve technique because they've gotten stronger with their bad technique already and they feel like that's optimal. And then having inappropriate, training structure towards their actual goal they're working towards.
That's good that you mentioned that. That kind of picks up on another area I want to delve into, which was, what are some of the, the main mistakes you encounter when people want to actually improve strength versus build muscle? And I guess you kind of touched on it then. Would you be able to unpack that a little bit more, Denver, in terms of perhaps defining the differences and how the relationship between strength and size, or how you program with your own clients and the things that you use yourself?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, when it comes to maximizing your strength, your maximal strength, you definitely want to get stronger because you are a powerlifter or some kind of a weightlifter or whatever it might be, and maximal strength and power is your primary goal. We really focus on intensity, so increasing the load, more frequently, and adjusting the sets and reps to suit that goal. So hypothetically, you did 3 sets of 10 with a certain weight. As the weight goes up, we generally have to reduce the rep amount to be able to increase the load and achieve that target, right? So as a strength focus, we really have to focus on intensity progression and looking to reduce the amount of reps that we're doing. And as a result, you might find yourself doing, 3 sets of 3 or, 5 sets of 5 at the top end, or, quite a few singles. And that's good for maximum intensity. However, the total amount of sets and reps completed in that form of training isn't enough volume in total to actually accrue enough lean mass or build on what you currently have. So training volume and training intensity are the two variables that we use for the most part, depending on your goal. So as a strength focused person, intensity is very important, and obviously lifting more weights, heavier weights is going to get you stronger. Your nervous system, everything's going to work better and elevate that strength. And then from a size perspective, training volume matters a lot more than the intensity. So the intensity has to be there to a certain level. But at the same time, we have to really focus on getting in more reps and more sets and more total volume as a primary focus to really maximize the size of the muscle, not really focus on the strength of the muscle.
No, very well said. I think we've all seen the guys in the gym. Sometimes we see a couple of outliers who are quite small, perhaps, very skilled with strength, being a skill, and then lifting and moving a lot of weight. I think the Olympic powerlifters are a good example of that, but they're not really big. They might be very well conditioned. And a lot of the times with the more uneducated lifters, they can be confused. They're like, why am I not getting bigger? Why am I not getting bigger? And as you said, I think understanding volume, and that volume is king in terms of, hypertrophy and growth, and understanding that, again, there's a relationship. It's really important. I find most guys really confuse the two. And like you said, a good point was skill acquisition. I think it's a really good point to address. So let's touch base on that a little bit more. From when you started, Denver, to where you are now, what are the main things that helped you, apart from education, improve your skill acquisition, and then also the ability to help others with their technique? Was it more because of you spent time in the gym and had that hands-on approach? Would you say that was one of the main areas, or is there other things that has contributed to helping you identify, hey, I that's not quite right in this technique, and I know now because of experience I can literally go and point out that's wrong, not in a bad way, but you can see a squat, know what's wrong with it, and then quickly, almost to the amazement of the athlete or the customer, the client, and they're like, wow, you just changed a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and wow, now it just feels good. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that definitely happens quite often. I would say what helped me definitely in that area was getting a coach and doing a actual proper session with a powerlifting coach. So someone who actually did powerlifting already themselves and coached other athletes, because I was able to run through a squat, bench press, and deadlift test with them and really learn the finer details of correct technique and how to optimize the amount of weight you move because you've improved your skill of lifting, right? So many years ago, when Recomp was born, it was called BRS back then, I did a strength test that was part of the rules of being a Recomp coach. So I had to learn how to squat, bench press, and deadlift optimally and do it with the heaviest weight possible, right? So did that many years ago, and I realized that there were a few technique things that I wasn't previously doing, and my form was actually pretty bad, and that's probably why I had big shoulders and no chest, and a few other issues that I had. I had hurt my back many years ago deadlifting, horrible form. We've all been there, and the great focus on strength when I'm trying to get bigger instead. I've been there too, I did that too. So you learn from your mistakes over time. But I think having some powerlifting coaches who ran me through how to do things properly, and then going to seminars and events and learning from people like that as well. And then obviously, as you progress and you're training clients, you start to learn a lot more as you train people. But definitely being a powerlifter, a competitive powerlifter, where skill acquisition is huge, and you have to, improve on your skill just as much as you need to improve on your training, efforts in general. That really helps you to fine tune things, especially for the bigger movements, to really optimize your skill with the lifts and improve things. So, it's definitely learned from other people, and then just experiencing that and realizing, hey, when I do this works. I had somebody who's quite popular these days, many years ago, say to me, hey, if you do this, and this with your squat, it'll be better, you'll get deeper, no pain. And I had no idea who he was at the time. But I was like, I'll try this. And straight away I felt better and I was stronger. So, reaching out to people or having them reach out to you is sometimes helpful as well. So yeah, definitely having a coach in your corner teaching you these things. And then for me now, running through strength tests with people or technique sessions with people so many times now, and seeing how different everybody is and being able to fix everyone has obviously helped a lot with, helping everybody in a general sense, and helping them to have the right cues when they, perform certain exercises as well.
I guess a lot of time it does come down to that mix of, having the knowledge yourself, but then also the experience of working with people to be able to identify, okay, it's not always as it is on paper, but okay, these are the little techniques or the little skill sets that help. And as you said, it's very refreshing when someone reaches out or you spend some time and invest. Like you said, and I know you're big on going to the seminars or symposiums. I always see your face there, or I know you're there from the posts you make on social. And it's really nice to see, because there's always something to learn. And I think we've all been in a position, and perhaps people listening can relate, and yourself, you're doing something, you think, what, I've really got this down. I've really got this bench press down. And then you'll learn this one thing from, it might be a powerlifter. He might not even be well known. And you try it and it's like, wow. And it just adds another dimension to your lift. And I can definitely relate. It's humbling. And I think it's exciting at the same time, because once you realize that, you have another understanding that, wow, there is always room for improvement. I can always work on my craft. And to go back to what you were just saying a couple of minutes ago about, when you spent time doing the strength and conditioning, the squat, bench, and dead, and the powerlifting specifically, and how that correlates over to movement, but also helping you with everything else, I think is key. I'm a big believer in incorporating those big lifts, but even for people who can't do it, going towards the variations of what they can do, teaching them that skill set, and then making people realize, oh, wow, like all of these principles now can correlate and cross over to the other compound and the isolations, and it actually makes them easy. It's almost like I call it like a Miyagi. Like you Miyagi them, you teach them these skills, and they're like, oh, I can actually do everything else better now. I'm like, yes, and with all the skills.
100%. On that, I would say that a lot of the times I've told clients, like, the squat, bench press, and the deadlift are ways to ensure that we're getting stronger and we're progressing in general. And every other piece of equipment you see in this gym is all designed to support the potential of increasing your strength on those movements. So, we do the hack squats and the leg press and the leg extensions and Romanian deadlifts and all these other things to then result in a better squat. And even though that's not really the case, because hypertrophy comes from multiple, movements, it's not just the one thing. It is a really good way to look at it and be like, well, my squat will get better if everything else is getting better. And if everything else is getting better, my squat will get better. So so you know what I mean? So they kind of help each other. So I know anytime my squat's going up, I'm definitely going to leg press more, and I'm definitely going to hack squat more, and everything's just easier, right?
Yeah.
From a mental perspective as well. So, that's a pretty good way to look at it. And just, it makes you have more purpose when you train, because, some people want to have that strength progression. It's quite exciting for them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think that bench press, squat, and deadlift has to be in every program. I've gone long times without doing them. And like you said, just doing variations of them instead is totally fine.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I think that this might be something interesting to just go over a little bit more and unpack. And I'm going to get more of your opinion on this in a minute, because you have probably, like myself, Mr. Wallace, Nathan Wallace, he actually explained that to me many years ago in Ashmore when he was lifting some stupid weight, and as he does, because that's what he's about. And he actually explained, just like you said then, but there he goes, oh, if you think about this, Alex, he goes, it doesn't have to be the case, but if you think like all of those other movements, like you said, can enhance, really are designed to enhance the main lifts, but understanding it from like the mechanistics. And I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. But then to go on to, I guess, the other point of, there are been times where I have, and I will openly admit, put too much emphasis on the squat, bench, and dead, not only in my own training, and having to sit down and go, well, hang on, what is the priority here? Are you a powerlifter or are you a bodybuilder? But not even in the silo of a label. It's more about, what is the goal? Do you want, strength and size? But then what is the priority? Are we right now looking for strength? And then we're going to use the strength to help us build size, and vice versa. And I think we can get caught up in, and even as a coach, wow, it's squat, bench, and dead, squat, bench, and dead. And it's like, well, hey, we don't need to do it, as you just said. Sometimes I know I've gone over the top with it, but again, all good learning, to the point where I'm like, hey, look, like this might be some of my like meat and vegetables that I'm always going to keep in, but hey, it's okay if we can't actually do a barbell squat because it's not essential. So let's do a goblet squat, or let's do a variation or a hack squat or something. And then perhaps we do build someone to that progression where they can use a barbell. But again, it's not essential. What are your thoughts on that? What are your experiences? Have you been in that same boat? And obviously now you're a bit more pragmatic with your approach and more holistic by the sounds of things.
Yeah. I feel like I probably did at one point, really emphasize squat, bench, and deadlift for a lot of people, especially early on. I like to teach all of my clients how to do these movements as a primary focus, and then kind of expand onto them. And I would say the squat, bench, and deadlift are the three main movements. And then you've got pull-ups and dips, and maybe bent over rows and overhead press, which are like secondary movements. And you must know all these movements as a primary focus to then move on to everything else. Whereas years ago, when I was a lot less experienced, I would stay away from these technical lifts and focus on machines and, just get people moving, I guess, working with just more like general population people, and not having enough confidence to really show people how to deadlift because I probably had concerns that they might get hurt or something like that. So as my personal confidence in myself went up, my ability to teach these movements went up as well. And then I realized I was the only personal trainer in my gym teaching these movements, and it made me really stand out. So, there was definitely a point in time where, hey, like, you have to learn how to squat, bench, and deadlift because no one else is doing it. And I don't want you to avoid these movements because they're not unsafe. You just have to know what you're doing, right? But yeah, specificity is always going to be king when it comes to training. So I definitely have some clients who don't do any of the variations at all. They just do completely different things. I've got clients who are injured and they can't do a squat or a deadlift. And even for myself, I find, like, when I do a powerlifting competition, I actually discovered for myself, it takes about 12 weeks for me to get completely over something. So in regards to training. So if I'm training like a bodybuilder, 3 mesocycles, I'm like, I'm so done with this. Like, I want to go back into strength phase. And after about 12 weeks of powerlifting training, I'm like, I want to do a lot more leg press or, lateral raises or whatever it might be as a bodybuilder. So like, that's me. So when I did my last powerlifting competition back in June, I think it was, I didn't do any squats or deadlifts or bench press up until 2 weeks ago, which is, June, July, August, September, October. That's quite a long time, right? So It's at least 4 months minimum. And I didn't miss it. I'm just enjoying myself doing other things, but variations of the movements in regards to like dumbbells and stuff like that, and hack squats instead of, your barbell work. But I like to get away from those movements a lot. And I feel like a lot of people are like me as well, where they kind of get sick of doing the same repetition all the time. To do the same training program with the same movements for a long period of time can get quite boring. So there are definitely phases where hypertrophy is the main focus, and we look at different movement patterns and different exercises and stuff. But then I do like to come back to a strength phase a lot of the time after a set period of time with almost everybody to, like, really maximize strength and then get excited about hypertrophy focused training again. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but squat, bench, and deadlift, it's good. They're all great. And yeah, the variations are probably just as important.
Yeah, no, you went over some good information. I think one thing that stood out to me, again, is that they're not unsafe when programmed and performed correctly. There's a lot of fear around these movements. And again, you've already touched base on it in this podcast about what you see in the gym is devastating. And I say devastating because you see, 95, I'd go as far as saying 95% of people are doing them wrong. So when you actually even teach people how to do them right, they've never seen like a deadlift done properly. It doesn't look like an actual deadlift, it doesn't have that backswing to it, but go down to your local powerlifting gym where it's not super, polished, and you probably most of the time see some fairly good technique to a degree. And I think, again, people are in the gym and looking, and they go, well, the big guy's lifting the weight. I even had a lady the other day, she goes, oh, well, yeah. And I said, if you don't know what to do, please come and ask those trainers. And she goes, or follow the big guy, right? I went, no, wrong, because just because someone's big doesn't mean they know what they're doing for a variety of reasons, which we won't go into. But I just thought that was funny because a lot of people even do, you'll see them looking, and sometimes you see them copy other people and you're like, oh, wow, like they're actually, they don't know. And I think this is another point entirely, but like having that support when you go into a gym, I think it'd be nice for a lot of gyms to offer at least some base, like, hey, everyone should get to know how to do the main squat, bench, dead, overhead, or the variants, because they're gonna have such a better time and an experience, and at least avoid injury. Because at some point, as you said, these movements are not unsafe, but they get a bad rap. Oh, deadlifts are bad. Well, no, you didn't learn how to do them. You just tried to pull so much weight off the floor, which has happened to 100%. All of us.
And to add to that, just quickly, I'll say, go. It's funny, like when people do start to squat, bench, and deadlift, all of a sudden they want to become powerlifters and they want to start doing 1 rep maxes, and their form is horrible because they're still learning the movement. So it's about, improving your technique, and then having, being humble, I guess, or having humility, and just understanding that you're still a beginner and you still need to progressively overload over time and get more comfortable with these heavier movements before you start putting on Instagram your 1 rep max of your deadlift and, your form is horrible. Right. So, next minute people want to be powerlifters and they're doing powerlifting prep and they're not ready. So it's like, you know, you have to respect, it takes time, right? And yeah, that's very important. And the other thing I was going to touch on as well, which is kind of not important, but people do copy what you do. And it was funny, like quite a few years ago, it happened to me all the time. And some of my clients were telling me to do some just stupid exercises, which didn't do anything, just to make people, you know, copy me and look like idiots, because that's what they were pretty much doing, you know. Social media has definitely grown a lot, but, you know, when I started as a personal trainer, it wasn't such a big thing. So it's more so what you see in the gym is what you do. These days, it's what you see on Instagram is what you do. So I do see, I'm aware of what's out there on social media. People send me stuff all the time, or I see it on my feed. So when I do see someone in the gym doing something stupid, I know where they got it from. You know, like the Stairmaster with the little kickbacks. Like, come on, are you joking?
I'm about to do some videos on that actually to take the piss a little bit. I tell you, on that point though, because you make that's a really good contribution, and this is a part of the reason why I love doing what I'm doing and speaking to people like yourself to try and share this knowledge and create more of awareness, because there's a lot of things, and I think females for different things, obviously males for different areas. Again, males more just throwing weight around, females doing all of these bloody cable fly, kickback bullshit, which again just adds very little mechanical tension to the muscle. But again, they've got it all backwards. And yeah, we've got a row here, and I tell you what, these machines are worth their weight in gold. It's the same people on it, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. I'm like, where do you get the time? And I've been at this facility for 8 months now, and half the people, they look worse, if not, than when they started. They're exhausted, they're burnt out, they don't understand nutrition, they're spending too much time doing cardio. And I think, again, it's this coming back to, hey, what is your goal? And do you understand if you want to do X, then you can't do Y? Like, if you're going to train like a cardiovascular based athlete, hell, you're going to look like one, but you're not even training that properly. You know, and then the girls get upset. They're like, oh, I'm just not toned. I'm not tight. And I'm like, yeah, because you're doing all of this things you see on Instagram, like the booty bands and the cables. So I think this is a good time to perhaps segue into one of the questions I had for you, Denver, because I know you've got a lot of successful female clients. And again, you've got a really good online presence. You put a lot of really sound information out there. Let's talk about some of the way you approach the female training and with your females, and how perhaps you educate when you get new females that come on board who are very skeptical and perhaps they might push back, or they might be a little afraid because they're not going to be doing all of these movements to see on Instagram that their favorite fitness model's doing. What's your approach? What are your thoughts? You know, yeah, give us the down low on that. Yeah,
I would say you broke up a little bit, but I pretty much know what you said for the most part. So that's all good. Generally, the approach with females, for the most part, like female specific, and I would say males too, but we'll just keep it with females for right now, is that first I look at improving their technique. Even if they're an online client, I want them to send me videos of certain movements, and you'll be surprised how many people look really fit and they train really badly, right? So it's very important to improve their technique primarily, but then obviously specificity is key. And a lot of the time, females are looking to improve their glutes, they're looking to improve their shoulders, and they want to have a smaller waist for the most part. So what I like to do is generally have a higher frequency of training for the lower body. And then for the upper body, it's going to be more shoulders and back specific, and a lot less chest and arms for the most part. Right? So ideally, I will start someone on 3 days per week lower body work. And within that, I will have variations of hip thrust, variations of squats, variations of deadlifts, single leg movements as well, lunges, things like that. And to get them a lot more familiar with these important movements, and nothing that's like fluff work, like maybe frog pumps, you know, or like whatever like that. But that'll be more like circuit-based stuff that's optional. Mm-hmm. For the most part, everything's foundational. And within the programming, there'll be progressive overload or overloading in play or set up. So I'll tell them how many sets and reps to do week to week, and that will generally shift towards strength progression or volume progression, depending on the goal, or you know, typically both. And that will run for generally 8 weeks or so, and then I will look to pull back the lower body frequency and allow their body to recover from that And that's when they start freaking out. And they're like, well, I've made these gains now, training my lower body or my glutes, whatever, 3 days a week. And you want to take one day away from me, I'm going to lose my gains. And that's, a misconception, I guess. Like they feel like less training is going to result in a worse result, when really what I'm trying to do is build up a lot of fatigue and a lot of volume and a lot of stress, and then take that away to allow their body to recover from, the previous 8 weeks of training and actually get the most out of it. So when we run through that phase where they're doing lower body twice a week, they actually become stronger in that phase. They recover a bit more. A lot of them see more gains, right? And it's kind of weird to them. But so that's probably the one thing that they fight me on, is like, I don't want to do less right now because you've got me doing like 3 days a week and I'm looking awesome and I feel awesome. I'm getting really strong and, my skills improving through each movement. And now you want to pull me back, but they always get better results. And that short phase, maybe it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks of the lower frequency of training, actually gets them more excited to, return to the higher frequency of training. So I like to have like a bit of a wave method where it'll be 3 days for a period of time, then down to 2 days for a period of time. And maybe there's a strength phase where it's even lower frequency. Maybe there isn't, depends on the person. But yeah, it's really all about their glutes, their shoulders, their waist remaining small. So calorie deficit for the most part, if necessary, or just, smart, very small surplus. And training in a manner which actually progressively overloads and also considers fatigue and allows for recovery. So deloads and stuff like that. That's typically how I work with females. Improving their strength is quite important to me because I know it's going to improve their confidence. Including movements which are challenging is also important because I know as they optimize their technique, again, it's going to improve their confidence. And without a doubt, almost everybody that goes to the gym is looking to improve their confidence. And a lot of people who compete, male or female, are doing that because for some reason they want to, I guess, prove their worth to a certain level and improve their confidence, right? So if we can improve their confidence by becoming stronger, by becoming very good at certain movements and also looking fantastic as a result, it's a win across the board. So that's the approach I take for the most part.
Yeah, no, that's very good, very methodical, and again, ironic. I think for when most females, when they actually learn the big lifts, they really enjoy it. They, especially, when they stand up, they do a deadlift, they pick, 100 kilograms off the floor, whatever it might be, and you can see there's this little smile, and it felt good, and they're like, yeah, it does feel good. And it's nice because, again, like you said, it's not the fact that they're lifting weights, you're empowering them. And you're making them feel good. They feel strong. They feel sexy. They feel, independent. They feel like they feel capable. And to touch on that last bit, yeah, of course. Who doesn't want to feel, if you look better, you feel better. Feel better, you look better. It's a very much a concertina effect, if you will. So that makes sense, I guess, with the females. They're very glute focused, again, for obvious reasons. They definitely want the booty. I think females, again, can do almost too much, but it's not almost too much volume. It's just too much, like you said, fluff work, where it might be, again, doing too many cable machines or kickbacks without, again, as you said in your programming, you've got the meat and potatoes, you've got the big compound variations, and then having that wave load approach and understanding and educating them that, hey, you know what, it's okay to do less because recovery is obviously is paramount. Yeah, it just cut out there. You're back.
It did.
I got you.
It didn't cut out on your end, but yeah.
No, I think we're good. Hopefully, okay. If not, cool. might be a quick edit there. We're getting there. We're getting to the studio soon.
Oh, good man.
I wanted to touch base on nutrition again. You mentioned it before, Denver. You put a lot of information out there. I know you're someone that has definitely positively impacted, what I've seen through social and the methods that I've used, especially, when we all start, you've done posts on when you start learning about flexible dieting, the pictures you post, your attitude, and then like how you sequentially go through, and then you end up coming full circle and you're like, yeah, it's, it's just food. I understand it. But let's perhaps talk about, again, your approaches with clients. How do you teach someone from, everyone's different, but say a very basic level to build a good, flexible relationships with food, and again, start overcoming, misconceptions and bad education. Because again, a lot of it, I think you'll agree, is re-education, because people are coming in. It's almost easier to teach someone who knows nothing, because when you've got someone who's like, oh, I've got to just eat clean, and it's like, well, hang on. There's a bit of a process. So perhaps talk us through, again, some of your experiences, some of your methods, how you take that on.
Yeah, sure. So one thing I'll say is that flexible dieting was quite trendy at one point in time. Quite a few years ago, it was in, everybody was quite interested in it and wanted to learn more about it. And the more that I shared information on nutrition on Facebook, for the most part, the more people were engaged and intrigued by that. And the more I shared eating foods which are deemed unhealthy or not clean, the more they were intrigued by that, because I maintained a lean physique, right? So, and that was really cool. That was a cool phase. But I would say now flexible dieting is more the normal, and people are a little bit more understanding and aware of, how to eat appropriately and what macros are. And, no one knew what IIFYM stood for, when I was trying to preach that. And even now, when I do posts on Facebook still, and I mention macros, sometimes I think to myself, I wonder if people have no idea what a macro even is. I try to speak to the general population for the most part, but sometimes people have no idea what you're even talking about, right? But the photos of the food and showing off your physique at the same time definitely intrigues people and gets them very interested. But the learning process is a long one. So there's quite a learning curve when it comes to understanding, the principles of nutrition and what matters the most, and, why, something works even though it's not the best thing in the world, right? Right now we're dealing with the whole game changers situation where everyone thinks they should be vegan, right? Or plant-based. And it's just ridiculous. And I've got people close to me who are messaging me telling me that they're vegan now. And I'm just like, you know what? You don't even lift weights. You're not an athlete. I'm okay with that. If it's going to improve your general, understanding of nutrition, or your focus on improving your nutrition, whatever, do it. But none of my clients are doing that. You know what I mean? So we know better. So we understand why things work, and it's the most important. But to get back to your question, all of my clients get a meal plan to start with. So everybody gets a, suggested nutrition plan using the foods that they like. So I'll screen them first and find out what they enjoy eating, get an idea of how much they're eating right now, etc. And the main focus is, here's your meal plan. This is the suggested times of frequency that you should eat them. These are the measurements for each food. It equates to this amount of calories, protein, carbs, fats, and fiber. And these foods are not the main focus, but more so, the calories and the macros and the fiber targets matter the most. But if we follow this meal plan, that will tell us whether we're in a deficit or surplus or maintenance or whatever, because you haven't really had a plan before. And we need to create some structure and some consistency with what's coming in, so we can actually identify, what is optimal for you. So once we start to see some positive progress with that meal plan, because we actually know how many calories are ideal for them, then they can start to play around and become a bit more flexible. That would be the ideal approach, right? So I want people to be on a meal plan, for however long it takes to see some noticeable improvements, and, start tracking food, measuring their food, and being, a little bit more on top of things with their nutrition in a non-stressful way. And then when they say to me, do I really have to eat the same foods every single day for the rest of my life? The answer is obviously no. You can learn how to track things and swap foods up, and this is how you do it. And I'll start to teach them the whole flexible dieting side of things, or, calories and macros and micros and meal timing, and get into that. I also give my clients videos on how to understand everything they need to know about nutrition. So pretty much there's a video called Understanding Nutrition, and it goes through calorie energy balance and protein, carbs, and fats, and what they do, and, all these different things that matter to us. And if they watch that, there's a little bit of self-education, straight away they can learn from that. Not everybody watches those videos. I wish they did, but that's straight away direct education that they can have from me, in a lecture format, going through, what matters the most. But yeah, flexible dieting is something you have to kind of progress to or graduate to. You can't just jump in, because without a doubt, you'll track things wrong. On MyFitnessPal, you select the wrong foods, and then you'll say it doesn't work, right? So I like to go meal plan and then become flexible, adjust the meal plans for clients if they prefer to just stick with that. But in the process, teach them about nutrition. And a lot of the time, it's going to be videos that they learn from through me, or it's going to be social media that they learn from through me. and then they'll ask me questions about what I've posted. So the post that I do is for my clients to learn, but also for, everybody to get something from as well.
Yeah, that's important. I think having those resources, for people to lean on is key, especially as we become a lot busier. And again, not having to repeat yourself, but also, you just don't have the time. And it takes time to absorb each of those elements. So if someone can sit down and watch, a video a week or whatever it might be, and they work at their own pace and go, well, I understand energy balance now. And then they apply that with the programming you've given them, and it gives them more purpose and more clarity. And they start to see, this is why I'm eating this amount of food, and this is what a macronutrient is. And yeah, I think that's a really good technique, Dan, but it's very methodical, and I think that definitely helps other people. But as you said, not everyone watches the videos, and you have to sort of you have to do it the hard way sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, sometimes I say to people, if you refer to this video, you'll know everything you need to know about that. So please go and do that. And the fact that you're asking me this question tells me that you haven't taken the time to invest in yourself and learn from the stuff that I'm giving you access to. And that's quite important. You know what I mean? If people ask me how they can fit alcohol into their lifestyle and still, stay on their goals or on track with their calories, that's answered already in a video. So, if you're asking me that question and you've been coaching with me for weeks and weeks and weeks, you haven't been paying attention. So, sometimes we can put it back on them.
Yeah, that's actually perhaps something I need to be a bit more direct about. And which comes with time. You get to a point where you're like, you know what, not going to be rude, but this is how it is. And I think you take less bullshit and you get better at handling things in a professional manner, which is good. But to quickly before the next set of questions, I think just to touch on the game changers. Yeah, you're right. I mean, even myself, who's not got quite as much traction as momentum or experience, I've had countless. If I had $1 for every time someone has, even this morning, I had a friend I used to study with back in New Zealand reach out, and he was like, "Hey, have you seen the game?" And I'm like, "Again, the game changes." And everyone's gone plant-based, and it's just astonishing how, black and white we think, or a lot of people, and how influenced they are by a TV program, a Netflix series, and that we still haven't, as a population, figured out that it's designed for entertainment. It's going to be biased. It's designed to get views. It's going to be fun to watch. It's not going to be literature and journal articles. And of course, you're going to have celebrities, endorsing it. But again, their words are kind of, twisted because of the way the edits are. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. And man, I'm sure I'm going to do a podcast on that entirely. I think, but for people who are listening, it's just important to make a note that plant-based isn't superior. You can certainly do it. It just makes things a bit more challenging, but it is no way better than eating meat. And it's a bit of a shame that people will just demonize a food group based on, something that's been put together by the media. So no, it's I think it's appropriate that you brought that up, Denver.
For sure. And to add to that, I would just say that, sorry, we cut out for a second and I stopped talking. But anyway, to add to that, I would say that a lot of people don't realize that you can still get fat eating a plant-based diet. You know what I mean? It's like, even clean eating, you can eat clean and still gain weight and look horrible. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand nutrition. You can't just follow these documentaries and feel like everything's going to work out for you. But at the same time, in saying that, if you do have a bit more awareness of improving your health through your food intake, and you are going plant-based, you are probably going to increase your fiber intake, and you are going to feel fuller. And maybe you will be in a calorie deficit, or maybe you will lose some weight. But it's understanding the why. You know what I mean? It's not just, I'm going to follow this because Netflix told me it's the best thing to do, because that's the worst idea. You know what I mean? And I just had somebody yesterday ask me if I specialize in vegan bulking diets. And I'm like, no, I do not specialize in vegan bulking diets. However, any nutrition specialist or, dietitian can help you to, eat in caloric surplus with your vegan-based foods. Like, there's no specialist trying to provide that, right? It's kind of like Kai Green came out with his plant-based ebook.
What I was just
and I'm just
say.
like, what are you doing? Yeah, man. Like, I've met Kai Green and he's an interesting guy, but now he's just all about the money, right? So
yeah,
it's jump on that opportunity to sell some ebooks for $1.
I think what was it, Lane Norton did his fuckery Friday on that. I think it was like last Friday, and yeah, all of a sudden, right? He's like Kai Green's plant based, and now he's got this bodybuilding book, and it's like, come on, man, like really, like you're not doing yourself any favors here. But the sad reality of it is, there'll be a percentage of people who buy that, and he will make a lot of money purely based on, you know, his fame and what credibility he does have with his audience, and people will buy into it. But you're right, it is important, I think, to know the context behind why something works rather than what it is at face value. And again, I think on the default, you're right, it's a good point. Most people who are eating unhealthy and over consuming in processed meats, yeah, if they went plant-based, they probably would improve their health, but it's not the plant-based that did it. It's, again, all of those other fundamental principles behind it. So no,
and I would say that
agreed.
Yeah, thanks, definitely. And I would say that we have a plant-based diet, right? We ensure that we have enough plants and, like, you know, fruits and vegetables in our diets, and we ensure that we have enough fiber, you know, for our clients, etc. And we include protein, which is quite important, and we bring it from animal proteins because it's convenient. You know what I mean? You know, it's very hard to put together a vegan-based nutrition plan with adequate protein for a strength athlete or someone looking to, you know, a bodybuilder maybe, without relying on powders, you know, vegan protein powders and stuff like that. And apparently, you know, the Game Changers is all about, you know, selling product at the end of the day and improving the plant-based protein powder, you know, sales and stuff like that. So yeah, it's annoying. But before we know it, keto will be trending again, and you're not going to see any keto vegans, right? So
yeah, I was going to say, what's going to come next? It all comes full circle, doesn't it? And then someone will come up with some other crazy thing. Sugar will be back in getting demonized, and then we'll all be going high fat, and then we'll go low carb. And yeah, it's a shame that there's a percentage of people that will always follow the trend.
100%.
In that respect. But yeah, the Game Changers, yeah, I think that's the thing that annoyed me is I can see the like you just said, there's a hidden agenda, and the way they've edited. I won't, again, I don't know a lot of these athletes in person. Like, I was a bit disappointed because I follow Lewis Hamilton, Formula One driver, and he was on there. But again, they're kind of twisting their words because these people are advocating, but I don't think they're saying like you just have to be plant-based. They're just sharing their experiences. But there were a few quotes on there where, you know, I think one of the guys was like, oh, you know, you don't see a cow eating meat. And it was like, well, hang on, like, are you trying to say that we're biologically the same as a cow? Like, come on, dude, like, you're making yourself look stupid. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, very, very, very interesting indeed. Perhaps we'll do a round 2 podcast on the Game Changers.
Yeah, maybe.
That's going to get
honestly. Yeah, I would say there's in all the time that I've been doing this, and as I continue to learn, nothing new has been new to me. So like anything that like people say to me, hey, like I heard keto is the best thing ever. Or I might see other fitness professionals proclaiming that keto is the best thing ever because they just discovered it yesterday. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I've known about keto for many years now. I've done keto before. Nothing's new. Like, end of the day, it's like your personal preference comes into play without a doubt. But are you calorie controlled? You know what I mean? Are you getting in the appropriate amount of carbohydrates and fats and proteins? And this is what matters way before you start thinking, hey, keto is the best or vegan's the best or anything like that. You know, I don't preach that flexible dieting is the best, or if it fits your macros is the best. I preach having calorie control, understanding the importance of macros and their role, and then using foods that you actually enjoy is the most probably suitable approach to be able to maintain this lifestyle and enjoy it and get the best outcomes from it. So it's like, don't restrict yourself and don't demonize these foods or like sugar, like you said, or anything like that, because that's not the problem. It's understanding energy in, energy out, and that will always be, you know, the foundation of that. So people, I don't know, they like to get trends. I don't know. It's
this is true. Yeah, like you said, the cornerstone and the keystone habits are really what makes it. And I think standing true to that, you know, you see trends. I mean, even CrossFit, you know, that's been around for centuries. It's just been relabeled, and now it's F45, and you've got all these little digressions. They're like languages. There's all these little digressions of the main breed, and people, I think, I think it's more of a, I don't know if you've heard of a podcast, Iron Culture. It's with Eric Helms and Omar, but they talked about how, people just like to put themselves in communities. Like, okay, it's like, I'm blue, I'm red, I'm yellow. And people like, I'm yellow, like, I'm vegan. Yes, go vegans. It's like, okay, that's cool, man. Like, you can be vegan, but the problem comes when you be going out saying it's better. It's like people who preach about religion. It's like, man, you can believe in whatever you want to believe in. I'm happy. But as soon as you start trying to put it on other people and force them, that's when it becomes an issue. And I think this is what's happened with a lot of these, shows. It's almost like people are like, this is superior. This is the way. It's like, no, it's not. Like,
yeah,
there's many ways. Like you said, it's about those
trends,
principles.
right?
Yeah.
People love their trends. I mean, like, I was telling you about this like Hell Week thing that I'm doing before we started this podcast now. And It's like a lot of activity and not much food and just like, something crazy. And I already told someone that I'm going to make it a trend, right? Just like if it fits your macros is a trend or flexible dieting is a trend or whatever, I'm going to have this, week of like hardcore training or, dieting or whatever, a lot of step counting and stuff as a trend. So people are like, I just finished a holiday or whatever. I'm going to do a Hell Week to try to like clean up their diet and their lifestyle, whatever it might be. And, I put a thing on my Instagram saying like, who would do this? And I had like over 100 people say, I'm keen to do this. And they just want to be part of the community because I'm doing it right now. Not that I'm anyone important, but it's because I've created this like idea and this trend and I gave it a hashtag, right? And it's got a list of things you have to do. People are like, well, I want to be involved. I want to do it. So it's definitely a community driven thing. And yeah, like 100% agree with Omar and Eric on that for sure.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a good point. And I think we can use this to our advantage in a good way where you've got, for example, I don't know, I've started doing it. Like you have like, again, you might post a picture or with my YouTube channel. If you have something very like you've done, you have something where you put it out there, you see what the interest is, you get the buy-in because people want to be part of like the team, the culture, the community, the movement. But then when you get people in, you can actually provide like a positive outcome and some good stuff where it's like with my YouTube thumbnails, I've started making them very clickbaity, but then the actual content is very honest. It's very informative as much as possible. And I always try and keep it credible. And I always say, hey, look, like you may have clicked on for this, but just hang around because I want to give you something like good, still relating to that topic. Like I'm not lying to you, but like there's no secrets, And I think it's almost that like the magician's like trick, they get you in and it's like, haha, but this is how it's done. And sometimes, maybe because this is society and this is what people want to see, maybe this is, again, part of a strategy now that we use without deceiving people, but to get people in, get the interest. It's almost like, again, to use another example, I remember asking Nathan back in the day and I said, before you competed and you got to the size you are and the shape, did you have the same interest? Did you have the same clientele? And I obviously know it's improved, which it will. He says, but no, people will now just listen to me purely based on what I look or what I lift. And he goes, and that really shouldn't be the case. But of course, we use that to our advantage and it's good to practice what you preach, but you get to a certain stage, you look good and people automatically will just be listening to you like God and gospel. And I think it's important to go, hey, look, yes, like this is good, but you should still even question what I do. You should think for yourself, like don't be questioning everything for the sake of it, but be a bit skeptical, like do your own research, like ask questions. But somewhere along the line, we've all forgotten how to do the basics. We've become robots.
Yeah, people are definitely drawn to the best looking physique in the room at a set period of time. Whoever's doing a contest prep is the king and knows everything because they're shredded, right?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, like that's the world we live in. Anytime I do a powerlifting prep, the interest in coaching will probably go down because I'm not posting as much physique photos or maybe I should post more of my clients instead. But if I'm posting deadlifts and squats and bench press, people don't care about that, or my followers anyways. If I post a random bodybuilding photo, everybody wants my help. And, I'll probably more than likely do a bodybuilding prep next year. And without a doubt, I know I'm going to become too busy. I'm always busy, but I know it's going to be like the interest will be high because, I see it with my friends now who are doing contest preps and they're too busy and, it's overwhelming how much work they have to do while they're trying to do their prep as well. and, they'll retain all their clients for a long period of time. And then they'll be in their off season and they'll look soft. And then the next person who's conditioned will get all the interest and people will start to lean towards them. And, it's funny because when I meet people and they tell me their approach to training, I'm just like, yep, you're getting coached by this person. Because as coaches, we have our own different way of doing things, right? So yeah, people tell me they're doing like whatever. And I'm like, yep, you're doing a recomp program right now. Like just because I've been, done that before as well. But yeah, it's so funny. And Nathan Wallace is like, he beat me in my first bodybuilding competition, came second to him ever, like my first comp, 2009. And I learned a lot from him, since then. And, he was the best physique on that stage. And as juniors, we were juniors, and he was already competing as a teenager, in bodybuilding and stuff. So he's definitely ahead of me in regards to training experience, and his physique shows for it, and his knowledge shows for it too. So, he's definitely someone that I learnt from and looked up to, and, we kind of had the same principles now, which is pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're both doing really well. I think you've both achieved a lot of success in your avenues, and it's good to see that, again, you've got that history and a good relationship as well. Nathan is, he's a big inspiration to me, as you know, and, he's also featured on the podcast. So yeah, he's just like yourself, very, very credible, very inspirational, and he continues to stay in his lane, I think, which is really good. And yeah, he's quite quiet. I think that perhaps even if he turned it up a little bit, he'd get even busier. But yeah, he's happy doing his thing, and he's got his corner. But yes, what a physique by Mr. Wallace. Before we go, Denver, so I'm sensitive of time, and I appreciate what you've shared so far. I always ask some rapid fire questions. So just first of all, so some quick, really fun, lighthearted ones. Answer them. Just whatever comes spur of the moment, and then we'll get into my final question, which I ask all my guests. So the first rapid fire question is, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
A superpower?
Yeah.
Never be hungry.
That's a good one.
That honestly is a freaking good superpower.
Like I'll say.
Never deal with, never be hungry, regardless of your, caloric intake or your expenditure, whatever. Never experience hunger.
I'm going to say that's probably the best, in my opinion, answer yet, because I'm a bodybuilder. Like, I'm a physique kind of guy at heart. And I know there's going to be some competitors out there now just nodding their heads being like, yep. And for the people who've never competed, you don't know what hunger is. So when you compete,
they have no idea.
this will make sense if you ever compete. All right, my second question is actually, let's go to this one. We'll throw this one in. It kind of goes on. So what then is like your favorite food? For example, it could be like, what's the food you have after a show? What's your go-to cheat meal? Like, what's your bread and butter? It could be like dinner and dessert. It can be a drink. Like, what is it for you?
That's an interesting question. That's a tough one. In general, I like chicken. So just chicken in general is a food that I like. But in regards to like going out and eating something, you know what? I love Mexican food, but typically post-work, like post-competition, like after a bodybuilding competition or something, I always end up at a burger place. So I'll go with a burger. I'm going to go burger and, the fries and stuff. I don't know why. I just always end up there. But, in regards to favorite foods, I like to go out and have a nice steak with some good sides, and, dessert is going to be, man, you know what? I'm not as food focused as I used to be. So if you ask me this and I'm like shredded right now, I could tell you a whole list of things that are so exciting to me. But like right now, I don't even have Nutella in my house. And, I'm used to be a big advocate of Nutella,
Oh, I know.
That fit that into your macros. But yeah, like dessert, I don't know. I like lemon meringue pie. So that's
good. Yeah. Now I remember the pre-workout Nutella and banana bread combo you used to post. That's a goodie.
That's the one.
That's a goodie, bro.
Also, because this is a podcast, right? So people can hopefully take this tip and use it for themselves. Nutella in, you probably know this already, but Nutella in coconut chobani yogurt. So put a bit of Nutella inside the coconut chobani. You've got a bounty chocolate, but it's obviously higher protein, and the addition of the Nutella for flavor. So delicious.
Man, I'm sold on Nutella, so I'm already in that train. It's great. I think people go too far with it, but like it's good. It's one of the better spreads out there, and peanut butter.
Yeah, 100%. I would say that Nutella is better than peanut butter because it contains carbohydrates and fats, right? So you're not going to just get the one nutrient. That's number one reason why it's better than peanut butter. But then in general, it's better than other food items because you have to like kind of measure it and like eat it. And it's very versatile. So you can have it on your banana bread. You can have it on ice cream if you want to. You can have it in yogurt and stuff like that. But you're not going to do the same thing with like chocolate, like with biscuits or something like that, right? So I always tell people like Nutella is something I can micromanage and I can choose how much I'm going to have, but you're not going to be like, oh, I've only got this much carbs left or macros left. I'm going to have half a Tim Tam. Like that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So you're going to have the whole Tim Tam, right? So Nutella, I can have 20 grams of it and be happy because it's mixed into something which makes it taste better. So it's very versatile, like fun food.
I'll give you that. It definitely is. It's very versatile. I was going to say it's the key.
And delicious.
Yeah, you can do a lot with it, and it goes a long way to a degree as well. You know? It's in my dessert. It's a regular fixture at the minute.
Love it.
All right, and my final question, on to something a little bit more serious. I ask all my guests this, and it is: can you identify? It can be something recent. It can be in the past. Identify a fear or a time when you experienced fear and what it was, how you overcame it, this whatever this fear was, and what you learned from it. And again, it can be as small or as big as whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
That's a good and tough question. You should have gave me this question ahead of time.
Yeah, no, I don't want no premeditation on this.
There's no notes on this podcast. Nope. A fear and how I overcame it. Is that what the question was?
Yeah, like a fear you experienced, how you overcame it, what you learned from it. So, for example, say it might be like, it was public speaking. I was so scared of it. This is how I overcame it, and this is what I learned from it. Like as an example.
Yeah, sure. Like I hate public speaking. So, that's a great example. I don't want to jump on that example. I might try to give you another one as well, but I hate public speaking. So I've been asked to do talks at seminars and stuff, especially early on when I was like a bit newer to the industry. And I didn't have the confidence in my knowledge, I guess you would say, to go on stage and talk about a certain topic that I didn't really have, a full understanding of. I didn't go to university to study these things, right? So I think, so yeah, public speaking is one that I don't like or didn't like. And I think that how I got over that is to realize that people are there not for me, but for the message that I'm able to provide to them and what I'm able to actually like share, I guess. And it's not about me as an individual. So no one's really paying attention to me and how I look or like my stage presence and stuff. Like that's all secondary. It's all about, the words and the information and being able to explain that in a correct way. So I've said no to more speaking events than I've said yes to. But the ones that I've said yes to definitely helped me to grow and to become more comfortable in that. So I tell everybody you have to be out of your comfort zone to adapt and improve. And no different to being in the gym and you're scared to squat because you've never done it before. But then someone, you kind of put yourself out there and do it, and then you become a little bit more familiar with it or a bit more resilient, and you add more load to the bar and you get better and better. You need to put yourself out there and say yes to things more often to then have that experience, because it's like dancing. Like I'm actually a horrible dancer because I never do it. You know what I mean? And if I start dancing more often, I'm probably going to get better and I'm probably going to be okay at that. And public speaking is the same thing. So how I overcame it was really just saying yes and actually listening to an audio book, which was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So there's actually, perfect audiobook, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I listened to that and it was kind of like, yes, you will experience these things, but feel that fear and just go ahead and do it anyway. And I did that. And every time that I've done the public speaking thing, it's actually been a lot better than I thought. And the feedback has been way better than I ever thought. And I always think people are just, talking shit and they're not actually being legit because I don't think I'm good at that because I don't do it enough. Right. So yeah, that's how I overcame it. Like really just, as much as we like to learn about training and nutrition because it's what we actually love and are passionate about, the things that we suck at, we have to start to study and learn as well, even though they're not things that are really exciting to us, because communication is so important. And even doing podcasts, I didn't like to do those years ago. And now, it's a bit more comfortable because I've done quite a few. So that's a good one. Thank you for that.
No,
I feel like you gave me that one, but public speaking would probably be the one that people don't get the opportunity to do often.
Yes.
And I was saying to someone, if you go to university and you do whatever degree or whatever it might be, you are forced to, present and to do all these things. And if you're someone who didn't take that route, maybe you're in a trade, or maybe you're, done certificate 3 and 4 in fitness and you've kind of elevated yourself through other means. If you don't have the opportunity to actually present, you're not going to have that experience and that ability to be really good at it. So the reason why people are more comfortable is because they've had more experience. So, so it just comes with, with practice and saying yes. That's very important.
No, this is true, because I think public speaking is everyone really can relate to it. And as you said, the only way, I don't think anyone ever is like, oh yeah, public speaking, great. When they first start, no one ever does that. I mean, it usually starts, like you said, when you're in university or in school and you got to present a topic and it's a minute, but it seems like the whole world and it's so long, and you do it and then you're your heart's racing. And I even, and people obviously see me as pretty outspoken and I'm quite expressive. I enjoy it now. But yeah, I mean, I was the same. And I think most people are, they're terrified. But as you said, and a good recommendation there for that podcast, feel the fear and, learn. Audiobook, you learn from that. You've got to feel it, embrace it, understand it, give it clarity, give it definition, and then do it. Because there's a good saying I love, and it's everything that you desire is on the opposite side of fear, which, take it as you will, but it is true, because half the time the things that you're putting off, the things that you're afraid of, are the things you need to do the most. And as you've already, illustrated there with what you said, the feedback was better than you thought, and it went better than you thought. And then you sort of oh, what was I bloody worrying about? And yeah, it's very interesting. So no, thank you for sharing, Denver. And thank you for your time once again. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it. Now, where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do and your coaching and follow along with some of these awesome media posts?
Yeah, they can just search Denver Steyn on Instagram, and that will come up pretty quickly. So that's an easy one. I have a website, so denversteyn.com. However, I've started to transition away from denversteyn.com more into my business name, which is Physique Formation. So physiqueformation.com.au is pretty much, a clone of denversteyn.com, but it's kind of more towards, I don't want to just represent myself. I want to help other coaches to maybe work alongside me as well, and not be put in the box of, hey, I work for Denver Steyn. You know what I mean? So it's physique formation is a bit better. So there's something I tried to do a long time ago, but I didn't really commit to it. So now all of my, my coaching check-ins and everything is done through that website instead. And you'll see the services to get working with me or to get in contact with me. So physiqueformation.com.au is where you want to go. You can find me on Facebook as well. But yeah, social media is great.
Awesome, dude. And I'll put all the links in the show notes and description below as always. So for the listeners, please jump on and follow along there. And I did notice actually you'd sort of made a digression when I was looking at contacting. I'm like, oh, this is new. I'm not seeing this before. So that's good. I think it opens up a wider opportunity. And like you said, it doesn't really sandbox you to just your name. It's more of a company or a collaboration, an umbrella, if you will, for expansion. So awesome 100%. Stuff, Denver. Thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it. Perhaps we will have to do a round 2 at some point, because it sounds like we could talk about a lot more. But in the meantime, for everyone listening, as always, make sure you tune in next week for another episode. Remember to share, like, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And again, you can listen along to these podcasts on all of your favorite media platforms. So in the meantime, guys, as always, stay fearless.